custom, and we are proposing to the village board to name the new, what's now called the FEMA Lot Park on West Main Street, Sewell Community Park. The Sewell family have been residents of Washingtonville since 1901. Reverend Percy Sewell was minister of the Bethany Mission Church for over 40 years, and they resided at 37 West Main Street, a lot that is in the proposed community park. We are further proposing that a plaque be placed in the park at a later date recognizing Naomi Sewell Richardson. As stated before in a previous report, she was the first African American to graduate from Washingtonville High School in 1910. And upon her graduation, she went to Howard University, where she was one of the founding members of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority in 1913. Naomi was active in community affairs here in Washingtonville until her passing at the age of 101 in 1993. The Sewell family has made their home in Washingtonville for over 100 years, and we, the committee, feel that the community park will be an honor to them, recognizing them for their longevity and commitment to Washingtonville.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you. It's been called the FEMA lot, it's been called the George FEMA lot. We have a clean name in front of George. Right now it's just community park.
Right.
I think this is great. I appreciate the work done.
Is it okay?
Yeah, entertain a motion to name this area, this park, Sewell Community Park.
I will make the motion on behalf of Linda's presentation and the committee's work. We sit on that committee, you guys did your due diligence, you did a really nice job. Nice write-up, and I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any discussion? Well, you're right. Any discussion? Or could always go back over this one. Yes. Sorry.
Well, I recognize that Linda and other works, because I was on the committee as well, considered going for different names. And there's other names that I heard that I don't remember ever getting discussed. Simple names like Washingtonville Square, Washingtonville Commons, Movement Park, and I heard different names thrown around. So I just want to know what happened to the different thoughts there.
I think Linda had indicated whatever we went out to pull the community as suggested, that was done. The names that came back, the committee considered, and the committee felt that because the property is the Sewell property for most of it, there were obviously other houses there, but their tenure in that area was not as lengthy or historical as the Sewell property. So the committee felt at the time that it was more or less justified in the sense that to carry on the name of the family that spent over 100 years on that piece of property, which I think is a tribute to the family. Her story of graduating, first African American to graduate Washingtonville, the whole storyline represents that piece of property. And I think it's absolutely fitting for that name, for that piece of property. I don't think they ignored anything. I think they touched everything that came their way. But, in the overall pride of the village and pride of that property and what that park will represent, I think it's well worth it and fitting to the name of what that park will represent.
vote once again. Okay, we have a motion made by trustee DeVinco, seconded by trustee Mack. Let's go across the table. Mack, yes?
Yes.
DeVinco, yes?
Yes.
Cool, right?
Aye.
Cool.
I had no issues with the plaque and recognizing the Sewell family. I think they had a lot of street names built now.
So, name Sewell Community Park.
Thank you.
Street shop.
Okay, we could go to. You want to go to the second one? We're going to jump back up to public hearing under number 2, introductory law, creating chapter 163 of the village code entitled Vehicles Abandoned, Junked, or Inoperable.
Make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Those in favor? To open up the public hearing.
Aye.
Aye.
What?
Any questions from the public on this new chapter, chapter 163? Yes, Terry?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Number one, from what I understand, a lot of jurisdictions exempt curb sales. You drive around Blue Grove, you'll see people have cars parked near the road with for sale. A number of those cars are not registered or licensed, evidently they're sold as is. Is that exempted by this or not?
Not according to the law. It's, the fact that a motor vehicle does not display the current motor vehicle registration or license plate shall be presumptive evidence that such motor vehicle is not in any condition for legal use on the highway. If it doesn't have a plate or registration, it's gonna be considered abandoned junk, excuse me, abandoned junk or inoperable.
So you're basically indicating that curb sales are not going to occur with those along.
Yeah.
Unless the vehicle is licensed and has insurance presumably, but why would you have
Yeah.
insurance if you're not moving it? The other questions I have, number one is like a legal issue. I mean, we were always told never take title to anything because of Superfund, because basically Superfund hits you. So even if you had nothing to do with contamination of property, you took title, as the city of Utica found, you were responsible for cleaning up the Superfund sites. And if you're taking title to a vehicle and there are liens on it, how does that work, particularly if the vehicle itself is collateral for the installment loan?
If there is an installment loan on it, we don't know that.
Pardon me?
I said, you're assuming that there's an installment loan on it.
Well, I would say probably most vehicles in Washingtonville, you know, people have car payments, and if you're gonna take the vehicle and the lender, it's whoever the lender is, has it as collateral, because that's the traditional collateral.
We're talking about a vehicle that's parked on the driveway with no, if you got a loan on it, we're talking about inoperable, junked, or abandoned vehicles.
Well, you know,
If
somebody might
if
be
I
short of
got a
money.
note, if I have a note on a car, I wouldn't think that it would fit into that category. I'd be driving it.
Well, that's rather adorable, but, you know, a lot of times cars are there because people don't have money to, you know, pay the repairs or something along those lines. It's just something, is the village gonna be responsible if they take
And
title?
if under those circumstances, right, that you just said right there, people couldn't afford, there is a form that they fill out on a yearly basis that the code enforcement or building inspector would approve or disapprove. They can appeal it to the board, and if it's for financial purposes, they can absolutely keep that car on the driveway.
So usually that when you have title, there's also, you have car title to a vehicle, it also has an indication if there's a lien on it. So if you're taking the title,
We're
you're
not
taking,
taking anything, you just asked me about a person that couldn't afford to
Yes.
register a car.
yeah, if you're taking a vehicle and the title has a lien on it, I'm just saying maybe you're looking into whether the village is gonna be responsible to particularly if the car is, as always, the collateral for it. Also, I noticed you could sell it, but are you gonna give the person involved the opportunity before you got into the legal system?
All the way,
Let me just finish, to donate it to charities?
all the way through this law, if you read it,
I just got it, so.
I know, what I'm saying, all the way through, when you read it, the person always has the opportunity to either correct the situation, or remove it and donate it, or sell it, or dispose of it in their own way.
Do they have to notify the code enforcement that they're donating it? Because sometimes the charity doesn't come by for like a week or 2 weeks. I know there's like a 5-day limit.
There's a 5-day limit once they're served.
So basically, if somebody donates it, can they give a notice?
Obviously, that's something that, I mean, I don't think we're gonna have 100 of these things, but obviously, that's something that could be talked to the code enforcement officer. Hey, listen, it's gonna take me 7 days instead of 5 days.
I mean,
5 days, even if 5 days you came to a hearing in front of the board, I need 2 more days. I'm sure it's not gonna be a problem.
Yeah, but you don't have meetings all the time. I think you're making this
And,
more.
so in that respect, if it was just gonna take 7 days and our meetings are 14 days apart, shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, so basically there is like a relief clause in the situation where, because it's a lot easier to donate it to charity than it is to pay $100 fine, whatever the hell the number is.
We're not looking to beat anybody over the head, we're just looking to clean it up.
Yeah. The other point was somewhere in here it had, the village board will determine whether the vehicle is able to be run or not. Isn't that kind of silly? Because none of you people have the experience as a mechanic to do that, do you?
Well, I think when it says that, it's not indicating that we're gonna go out there and inspect it. We'll have cause to get a mechanic or some technical expertise to make that determination. Report to the board, and then the board would say it's operable or not.
So would that cost for the mechanic?
I don't know where you're reading,
I saw that somewhere. I mean, just, if the village board trustees determine that an abandoned junk or inoperable vehicle is not suitable for operation on the public highways, blah, 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 if the vehicle does not have vehicle identification number, I understand that. The village shall sell the vehicle to a blah, 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 blah. So the point I'm making, this is 163.5.
Yeah.
3, is the cost of that mechanic going to be charged?
It's all charged to the owner.
Charged to the owner.
The removal is charged to the property owner, where the vehicle is.
But basically, if the person says the vehicle's operable, and you hire a mechanic, and basically the mechanic says it's operable, don't you think it's unfair for the owner to have to pay for the cost of the mechanic? He'd already told you the vehicle was operable.
But if we wouldn't, if he told us it was operable, and it still doesn't have the registration in place, it's considered by definition abandoned, junk, or inoperable.
Okay, so the key trigger here is no registration and no plate, no inspection presumably?
That's presumptive evidence, yes.
Presumptive, but it's not conclusive, correct? Yeah, so basically the person would have a right to challenge it, is that correct?
Challenge anything when it comes to the hearing in 5 days,
Yeah, and where would the hearing be? Maybe I just read this.
in front of the board.
In front of the board. Okay, so basically going back to the original point is you're not really qualified to determine whether it's, operable or not.
If you tell me it's operable, I'll believe you that it's operable.
Okay, that makes
But if it
life a lot
if
easier.
it doesn't have license plates or a registration, then it's considered to be, by definition, an abandoned vehicle, abandoned junk or inoperable. Doesn't have to be inoperable, abandoned junk or inoperable.
Why don't you give the person the opportunity and somewhere in the law that they can donate it to a charity, and that would, then if somebody would come along, take it away, and then you wouldn't have to worry about anything other than liens, because then you wouldn't have to take the title, and then the bank and the owner.
If you go to number 4, and it says any proceeds from that abandoned junk or inoperative vehicle, less all costs and expenses incurred by the village, they're held by the village for a year. We still want to give it back to that owner. We still want to give that money back to the owner. If it's more than a year, it goes into the general fund of the village. We don't want to take your money, we want to get rid of the costs, the junk costs.
Well, the person donates to charity, you won't be getting any.
No, they would be getting their tax benefit or whatever.
Yeah, but you won't be getting any money from the village, correct?
That's fine.
And that's fine, if that's, if that solves the problem, that'd be great, you know? And I'm sure, you know, whoever is sitting here is not gonna say, you know, oh no, we can't let you give it to a charity, we want that vehicle, we're gonna sell it. But then when we sell it, you know, they're gonna get the money in out. But no, I would absolutely, you know, just the purpose of it is to clean up the profits.
We're not in the used car business,
Yeah, well, I mean,
just like
you're
we're not
actually,
in,
what you're actually looking at is a civil action rather than a criminal action, and the penalties are pretty strong here. $750 or imprisonment.
And again, this is something very similar to South Blooming Grove, Walden, town of Wallkill. And the attorney has read it, looked at it, he was the one that